Lezard Chung is one of Asia's few impersonators of the late Hong Kong star Anita Mui. It's an act that Lezard has been doing for years, not only because of his love for the singer, but also because of a need to express himself creatively. By night, he plays to the crowds. And by day, he metamorphosizes into a different kind of artist, a henna artist. Henna is made from dried Lawsonia nermis, a plant that grows and has been used for centuries in Egypt, India, and parts of the Middle East. Historically, it was used by women on wedding occasions or by pregnant mothers who wanted to ward off evil. Despite a long tradition, it's only within the last decade that there's been a surge of interest across the world. Nowadays, it's widely accepted as an art in self-expression. And perhaps this is why Lezard Chung was so attracted to it.
Actually, in the shopping center, when I saw this Indian lady doing henna, at that moment of time, it appears to me as something very exotic. I did not know what actually caused the fascination, but it's probably because of the novelty of it, probably the cultural sense of it. No, I can't explain to you right now. Probably in my past life I had been exposed to it. But at the moment of time when I saw it, I was so fascinated at that I made the decision that I want to do this. I want to learn how to do this on my own.
Being curious by nature, Lezard did his research by visiting salons in Little India. But henna artists often shied away from his questions. Determined, he turned to the internet for answers and eventually found a way to make the paste.
The things that I came up with at that time doesn't give a respectable stain at all. And by trial and error, I discovered that the key ingredient is really fresh and good henna powder. And there is a thing called eucalyptus oil that you can put it in.
For henna hand art, the powdered dye is mixed with water and oil and left for a day before being wrapped into cones. When applying it to the skin, the tips are cut off and the henna squeezed through. It is a skill that takes discipline and control. Once Lezard mastered the technique, he went on to creating. His first design was a very untraditional one, a peacock.
I struggled with the cone for a long time, I think about 3 hours. I did it on my hand. It looks okay at that level, at that time when I was beginning.
With time, Lezard went on to practice floral and paisley designs typical of Indian henna art. He experimented with the Moroccan style, but found it too linear.
But I'm not very in favor of that. I prefer more curvy lines, which actually suits the human body better. After that, I get more adventurous and I venture into Chinese art. I try to adapt Chinese art, into henna. And to a certain degree of success, and dragon and phoenix are tremendously popular. What do they actually do when you guys go for performances?
Okay, usually for performances, we have just like a bit of a...
Lezard's ability to absorb new ideas and adapt existing ones is one of the reasons why he's popular with clients such as Priya. Priya is doing a dress rehearsal for a solo show at the Indian Fine Arts Society. Traditionally, performers mark their palms with circles and cover their fingertips in dye. Using the traditional patterns as a foundation, Lezard builds up an elaborate design with dots and flowers. It takes about half an hour to create. The henna is then left to dry and, depending on the color you want, kept on for hours.
I've tried doing henna on my own, me and my friends, but it doesn't really turn out this way because it's very difficult to actually control the cone and make all these like fine lines. So it's very difficult to come up with the intricate patterns that you like. So it's come out pretty well, so he's good.
Henna art is not a lucrative business in Singapore. A design can cost between $5 and $10. It is time and energy consuming and often misunderstood by people at large who treat it as a craft rather than an art. However, that doesn't bother Lezard.
Yeah, I actually enjoy what I do. I do my work with a passion, and I go to work happy, with anticipation, which I think a lot of people who has a conventional job doesn't. It's something I can do, it's something I know I'm good at, and there is some form of happiness I can generate when someone receives a design from me.
In 2003, encouraged by an internet site called the Henna page, Lezard published an ebook of his designs to share with henna artists and people interested in the art. In it are variations of traditional designs and a section dedicated to Chinese-inspired patterns.
This page has a lot of people going into it from the West, mostly Americans. And through my experience, I think the Americans are quite fascinated with Chinese culture. So I dedicate a section of the designs inspired by Chinese art.
Lezard has no plans to expand his business. He is satisfied to keep on developing his skill as a henna artist at a pace he can enjoy and alongside his stage performances.
I'm not sure whether have I reached my peak yet, but then, if you think of it, what is a peak? Is that a level that you can't go any further? No, right now, I know I produce a reasonably good level of work, and the income that is generated from it is not a lot, but if there is no money from henna, I still have other work, so it doesn't really play a part. I think I'm very content with what I have now.